Getting us started recording here. So welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Bo.
You listened to my Roger Eidecker interview and didn't get scared off. So thank you for joining me and letting me interview you. As I kind of mentioned on the phone, I'm starting somewhat of a better business podcast, and over the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to work from some really smart folks and learn from various CEOs and presidents of companies. And had Roger Eidecker on, who I worked for a very long time. Now, you and I uh, have never worked together before. In fact, I think we only really know each other through my coaching of your grandson.
Yep.
Uh, but I'm just thankful and very proud to have you on this. What's going to be my second podcast show. You are the president. Is that your correct title of Acme Music and Vending? Tell me a little
Correct.
bit about yourself and Acme.
Pardon me?
I said, tell me a little bit about yourself, Acme Music and Vending, and yeah, your history there.
Well, um, my folks, Walter and Margaret Cobb, started Acme in 1938, and they got married in 1936. They both worked at Chase Candy Company, which is still in business in St. Joseph today, of course. And in 1938, my father borrowed $100 from the Chase Candy Credit Union and bought 3 or 4 used pinball machines. And Acme Music was born at that time. And uh, obviously, they sacrificed and built an amusement route from those humble beginnings. Essentially, the American success story. Worked hard and sacrificed and had 2 children along the way, my brother and myself. My brother's 6 years older than I, not involved in the business. Um, he has his PhD in chemical engineering from Rolla, so he went on to do chemical engineering things. And I went to college in Washington University in St. Louis, graduated in 1970 with a business degree, came back to St. Joseph, and essentially went in business with my parents. And we operated exclusively as an amusement game company until about 1986 or so. And I was, I think, 38 years old. Looked around. I had two young sons, and thought this business is not going to be large enough to support 3 families if and when the boys would want to be involved in the business. And that's when we um, decided to expand into the vending business, which we did. And we've been doing full line vending ever since. Um, and now, of course, we do the amusement game business, full line vending. We also bought an office coffee business, Ken's Coffee, that was owned by the Evans family, who were friends of ours, and we bought them a few years back. So we do those 3 things, plus also do home billiard sales, and keeps everybody busy. We've got 32 or 3 employees, and things have been rolling along pretty well.
What started out with $100 loan, and you said 1938.
Yep.
Wow, so you're
Eight,
celebrating your 85th year. Is that correct?
85th year in business today. And if you look around St. Joseph, in the family owned businesses that are still here, um, there are substantially less family owned companies in town than there used to be, of course. Um, Obviously, with business changes and what have you. Fortunately for ourselves, we've always been able to embrace technology, um, and expand with that. Obviously, diversify our business has been very important, and being able to look around and see what opportunities may present themselves, and to have the company be in a position that you can take advantage of those opportunities. And essentially, be here every day. My father used to tell me his business theory was about 20% hard work and about 80% luck. And it's being in the right place at the right time, and being able to have the forethought to take advantage of those opportunities when they presented themselves.
Yeah, absolutely, because the world is obviously quite a bit different from 1986 when you guys were just in the vending business. Take me back to 86 and before. So what did that just go into more detail about what that meant? You mentioned that this started with pinball machines, but up until 1986, talk a little bit about that.
Well, the business then, um, I like to think that it was much easier, much simpler. We had on the amusement business prior to the 86, the amusement business consisted of coin operated um, jukeboxes, coin operated pool tables, coin operated video games, and coin operated dart machines at that time. And then when the vending business, we expanded in the vending business, um, that was also vending machines that took currency and change and vended out a product. So everything that we have done, you walk up to a machine and you insert cash and or coins, and you do something. You interact with the machine. Either you play a game, listen to a song, or you get a product out of that machine. So those are the things that used to be that way. And our business essentially uh, from uh, from that point was we supplied the equipment. We would service the equipment 24/7, as we still do. And then you would go around um, on a weekly or bi-weekly base, bi-monthly basis, and collect the money out of the machines and split the proceeds with the proprietor of the business. Um, and up till that point, you could things changed in the amusement game business pretty dramatically. We went through the big video craze of Space Invaders, Pac-Man, asteroids, those type of machines that proliferated everywhere. And we rode that wave until it crashed and burned, and due primarily to the different video game companies producing home market games that really were the same as what we would offer in a place of business. And by same, I would mean the difference when they all started was the the graphics and the clarity on our equipment was much better and much more sophisticated than you could play at home.
Yeah.
And then as that gap closed, that business model ceased to be very viable at all. And so at that time, we saw that that business model wasn't going to have a great deal of longevity. And we turned into a company that heretofore you would supply the equipment, service the equipment, collect the money, and go on about your way. Um, Now we've turned into a promotion company. So it's our job to give people a reason to go to the taverns and bars and restaurants around St. Joseph in the formation of dart leagues, electronic dart leagues, and pool leagues, where you formulate teams. They go from bar to bar to bar and play either darts or pool. We also have a video game called Silver Strike that they play as well. So it's been now our job to embrace that concept, which has been going on for 40 plus years. And so the leagues, uh, both darts and pool, are very mature, and the technology now, particularly on the dart side, has developed that now you can go to your local pub and you can play a game of electronic darts, and you can get online and you can actually play a person at another place of business, another in another town, and you can play them head to head because there are cameras on the machine that have a picture of you throwing the dart, and it
Okay.
has a picture of where the dart hits on the machine. And so, um, pardon me, you're able to play that person and you can see that person throw the dart and where it hits on their machine. And so you go head to head. And that has been a real technological advance. And now we have online leagues that form really every week. Then when every month we have a myself and a gentleman from outside of St. Louis developed the concept. We kind of homogenized our whole way of business in terms of machines and handicapping system. And now we've invited other operators that have like-minded thoughts and can do the technology into our program called Partners Promoting Darts. And um, every year, about October, we have a Tournament of Champions event that is being held in Kansas City in a 70,000 square foot arena that we put up 185 dartboards and have anywhere from 12 to 1,500 individual players that qualify to go to the TOC at local businesses. And it's a 5 day um, tournament, and we give away right at $1 million.
Oh, wow.
And so it's a big deal. It's a big
Yeah.
deal. And that's part of the transgression of technology and how it has affected our business on the amusement side of the business. And vending really has had in the last decade, it has had um, the technology just has a real impact on the vending business. And that since about a decade ago, I think, um, we are in places now in St. Joseph and our surrounding trade area that we don't have vending machines anymore. In your break room, we'll take the vending machines out and they will be uh, replaced with a concept called a micro market. Micro market is a unmanned convenience store where all the product is open. You have a cooler that has your soda and soft drinks in it. You have another cooler that will have fresh sandwiches in it. You'll have a coffee machine, and you check out at a kiosk. We have cameras up for security. But heretofore in the vending business, with the spiral machine delivery system in vending machines, you had to have a product that fit in those spirals. And so you're limited by
Yeah.
what you could sell. And now in a micro market, you can essentially sell whatever that would have a barcode on it. And so now that has changed the vending business dramatically. Um, we also have a telemetry through our credit cards. Now, every vending machine that we have, either in a micro market or a vending machine, a standalone vending machine, we all have credit cards. And so the credit cards give us telemetry back to our mainframe computer that interjects it into a picking system that is a company called Lightspeed has developed. So heretofore in the vending business, a route driver would come in and he would say, okay, I'm going to go to this many accounts today and I'm going to load my truck with all this product that I think I might need.
Mm.
And so he would go in, get to the account. He'd have to go into the machine, look at the machine, take inventory, then decide how much product he was going to have, go back to this truck, and then load that product in, then go back into the account, fill it, and then come back out. And so that process has been streamlined dramatically where Now each driver has an iPad that is essentially will tell him, where the accounts are. And so when he comes in, his truck comes in after his route now is totally empty because every vending machine has a tote, and in that tote is all of his dry goods, and then in another tote is all the soda. And so he essentially can leave his truck, pick up a couple of totes, put them on a two-wheeler, and go in, fill the machine, and come back out. And so the telemetry from the credit card system tells us exactly how much has been sold either in a micro market or in a vending machine. And so you have par values that you work to, and it has changed dramatically in terms of our inventory control, the efficiency of the route driver, the accountability of our system will help us know what we sold and how much we sold and what you need to order. So
Yeah,
it's
it's software
greatly
probably
improved system.
software probably made you much more efficient at what it was you were doing.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And on the amusement side of the business, we used to have little collection reports that are not a report, but on a collection booklet, and you'd hand fill that out, at every location. Well, now everything is on an iPad. And when we have a collector go into the account, the meter readings we have meter readings, hard meters on all the machines, and they put in the current meter reading, the former meter reading, and then it matches. And then we physically count the money that's in the machine, and then they have a collection report that's generated by the software system on location. So the amusement business has changed dramatically that way as well. And obviously we have equipment now that takes credit cards, and you can play a jukebox from your phone, and so that's changed dramatically as well.
Yeah, and credit card technology just keeps changing and getting, I guess, more advanced and more secure. One of the things I'm struck by as I hear your story is when you were a coin-operated business, your service technicians would have been folks that were good mechanical technicians.
Correct.
And now, much of maybe some of what you do is mechanically related, but now it's software and mechanical. So the very nature of who you need to do the work, well, not necessarily changed, but that skill set has evolved over time. How did your longtime employees make that switch? Was it difficult for them?
In the transition from 1970 until today, obviously, I'm one of the only guy in the company that's been around since 1970
Okay, yeah.
until now, obviously. But we have totally different employees, and we went from a mechanical pinball machines that used to have um, coils and solenoids and reels that made this score. Now that's all electronic. All the lighting in the pinball machines are all LED. Very few mechanical things are left, and so consequently, the electronic part of our business started expanding in the mid to late 70s. Late 70s, electronics started becoming more prevalent in the machines that you purchased. And now the software part of the business is greatly enhanced. And so the people that you employ um, have computer skills. They have being able to work on a printed circuit board. Um, Less now than we used to, but you still have to troubleshoot whether it's a monitor, whether it's a power supply, or whether it's a motherboard. So you've still got to troubleshoot that. But most of the the, the circuitry on those boards are microcircuits that are much harder to work on with an old time soldering gun and solder. You just can't do it. because of the microcircuitry. But the employees have definitely changed. You've gone from one skill set to another. From a mechanical guy, now you're an electronic guy, which is totally different. And that's true on both sides of the business.
Yeah. How many vehicles, you mentioned you had 32 employees or somewhere in that vicinity. How many vehicles do you out servicing clients on a given day?
Oh, 30.
Oh, okay. So,
We've
so,
got we've
so,
got 25 to 30 vehicles that somebody's in all the time. And we've got a service call tracker. Uh, every vehicle has a GPS tracker on it. So the girls that dispatch service calls know either on the vending side of the operation, the coffee guys, or the amusement guys. They pretty much know where everybody is at any given time, and they can map out service issues with whoever's in any given area at any one time. So that's another thing that's changed. And with our business, um, we never close 24/7. We've got bars that are open until 1:30 at night. You've got plants here in St. Joseph that never close. They work 24/7. And so consequently, we have to work 24/7. And that's a pretty big challenge in today's world, um, getting people to realize and have that sense of urgency that when something is broke, we're not making any money. They've got to get out. They got to get the thing fixed, and that's been one of our um, most important things that we do. Um, my father used to say, anybody can get you a jukebox or a pool table or a machine. Um, it takes a special company to be there at 11 o'clock on Friday night to fix that machine, and make sure it's working. On the vending side of the business, you got a coffee machine that goes down on third shift. You got to be there to fix it. And so that's a real integral part of our business that not everybody understands. So, it's just a part of our business that never changes.
yeah, Roger Eidecker talked about instilling a sense of urgency in his employees. Now they live in a totally different environment where, their sense of urgency isn't necessarily customer service related. They've got a road to build. They've got something to do so they can get that road back open, and so then there's a sense of urgency there. But like you just mentioned, you're in the business of customer service, and so uh, being able to satisfy your customers when they have problems, that's always an urgent matter, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, we had a client in the North End, an old client, and some guys were in there shooting pool one night, and I can't remember what time it was, but um, something happened to the pool table, and it quit working. And these four guys were going to leave. Well, he didn't want to lose the customers. He said, "Hey, so I'm going to call Acme." He said, "They'll be here within a half hour." And the guy said, "Well, there's no way they can be here in a half hour. There's just nobody's going to give you that kind of service." And he said, "Well, I'll bet you, a round of drinks, whatever." And so lo and behold, um, he's replaying this story. Our guy shows up to fix the pool table in about 15 minutes. It just so happens that our service guy, didn't have a service call in the South End. He lived in the North End, and he got the service call, and he was there within 15 minutes. And I told the owner of the business, I said, "Now, what would have happened if our guy would have been in the South End and had two or three service calls backed up and not gotten there in 15 minutes, or made your time constraint?" And he said, "Well," he said, "I've been calling you trying to get money out of you for that round of drinks." So it's it is something that we've always prided ourselves in, that my father instilled in me, that service is the only thing you're selling, and you've got to be able to deliver. And after being in business for 85 years and having the client base that we have, and being as fortunate as we have been, um, it's been a hallmark of our business, that I've instilled that sense of urgency into my sons, and we've instilled it into all the folks that we've had here. And we've had people that have been with us 35, 40 years. And so everybody here understands that, it's our reputation that's online. It's, we want to be able to provide the service that we've always been known for. And that is, something that's very, very, very important.
What lessons have you learned, not through successes, but perhaps through your failings? And not obviously you haven't failed, you're still in business, you're doing well after 85 years, but I feel like as we get older, we really learn from our mistakes, or where we could have done things better. As you look back on your career, where have you learned when perhaps things didn't go well? What have you learned over the course? Because never it doesn't always go to plan, right?
Absolutely. There's a lot of different examples. Um, my father always used to tell me, um, said, son, the best lessons are the most expensive.
Mhm.
The ones that cost you the most money are the ones that you really remember and learn from. And a lot of it has to do with, I think, um, planning, being ready to make that decision, making the decision, and sticking to that decision. And so I think there's things that happen that obviously are out of our control. But if you're thinking about a new piece of technology, a new piece of equipment, um, all those different things that are enter into day-to-day business, being able to sit down, analyze the situation that you're in, um, and not only do it yourself, but the people here, that have, uh, almost as much experience as I have. Um, I tell all of our employees at our Christmas function, there used to be a day when I saw every client that we had every week, and I interacted with every customer every week. And that doesn't happen now. The business has grown, it's diversified, it's expanded. And I tell the employees, you guys are the ones that are for the face of the company now. And you're the ones that interact with the customers more than I do now. And so it's vitally important that, you keep up that sense of urgency. But along the decision making process, in terms of learning from the mistakes we made and not to do, um, the same mistake twice, um, that's that's basically, what we've learned. I knew that, I was pretty young. This would have been in the very early 70s. My father, was still active in the business, and, there was a particular account, gentleman that ran a business, of questionable repute, and Dad, never would risk the equipment to put in this place. Um, well, he happened to be, I can't remember, out of town, and we had the equipment, and I thought, well, I'm going to try this. Well, we moved the equipment in, and, he didn't say anything when he got back in town, but I made a point when we started collecting this account, it earned some money, and I made a point of having him see the collection report. And I, my course, my uh, motivation was, look at all this money that you have missed out on that I capitalized on. Of course, young kid with not much experience, and he never said much. And, so that went along for a while, and maybe a month and a half of this place being in business, maybe 2 months. Well, I went there to collect. Did all the collecting back then, and I went there to collect. Couldn't get in the place of business, and it was in a rough part of town, and uh, couldn't get in, couldn't get in, couldn't get in. Days went by, um, and so finally I got a hold of the business building owner, and he let me in. I go in. All of our equipment had been broken into,
Oh,
money taken out, and destroyed. I mean, the jukebox had a sledgehammer taken to it. Pinball machine was in god awful shape. The pool table was all torn up. And I thought, oh my, all I could think of was what my father was going to say.
mhm.
And so I go back to the office. I get a couple guys and a pickup, and I go load the stuff up. And we took almost everything to the dump. Nothing was salvageable. So I go back to the office, tail between my legs, and sat down at my father's, across from my father at his desk. And he looked at me and he said, well, he said, did you learn something today? And I said, yes, sir, I did. And that's when he told me, he said, the best lessons are the most expensive. So he said, plan, execute your plan, stick to your plan. And he said, sometimes it's good making conservative decisions rather than being on the cutting edge of some things.
Yeah, that's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. So so now, Tom, talk a little bit about at some point. I assume you're going to transition this business to your sons, and of course, I know they have their own children as well. Well, so what are your thoughts about making sure that's a smooth transition? And are you thinking one, two generations out as you set up your family for success as Acme continues as a business into the future?
It, my father's succession plan, um, it was about a 10, 15-minute conversation. It was 1974, 5, and he was remodeling a farmhouse on a piece of property owned east of town. I was building a house that we still live in today. And he came in the office one morning and he said, well, he said, I'm going to go to the farm and I'm not coming back. And I said, you mean you're not coming back today to the office? And he said, no. He said, I'm not ever coming back. And I looked at him and I said, so this is coming from the guy that started this business with $100 loan. He said, yes, sir. He said, I've had these people, customers, for 40 years. It's your turn. I've watched you for 5 years. You're going to be successful. And I'm just as close to you as a telephone. Back then, the telephones were on your desk, not in your pocket.
Yeah.
He said, you need something, you call me. And with that, he walked out of the office, and I was 26 years old at the time. And I thought, my gosh, what am I going to do? And I relayed this to my sons, and um, Dad said, I said, my gosh, he was such a vital, vibrant presence and bigger than life presence. And I used to ask him, I'd said, Dad, what am I going to do if something happens to you? What on earth is going to happen to our company? What's going to happen to me if something would happen to you? And he looked at me and he said, son, he said, the day that I die, he said, there'll be somebody somewhere in St. Joseph that's going to be putting a quarter in a jukebox. He said, the business will go on. He said, you'll be fine. He said, you got a good head on your shoulders. And he said, it'll be fine. And he was right. And I can remember his attitude. Uh, we would have had a particularly trying day, either with customers, employees, business, what have you. And we'd be at the end of the day and we'd get ready to go home, and he'd look at me and put his arm around me and say, well, he said, we've had a heck of a day, haven't we? I said, yep, it's been pretty trying. And he said, well, he said, you know, son, he said, tomorrow will be a better day. And that was his attitude. Never got down, never was despondent about anything ever. It was always keep your head down, keep working, keep going. And I've tried to relay that feeling and that thought process to my sons, that show up, be present, take care of business, and the business has to become number one. And that's a hard lesson for young people to learn, that the business has to take priority almost over everything, because you don't jeopardize or kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. You
Yeah.
just have to take care of business first, no matter what. And with that prevailing thought, um, has been something that I've relayed to the boys, and they both get it. Obviously, they're not boys anymore, but they're still boys to me. And
Yeah.
they're here every day, and they have uh, both taken an interest and a priority in the business, that they understand. They understand all aspects of the business, because it is diversified, and it is both businesses are different. And so we've our transition from me has been, I'm still here every day, and I started in about gosh, it's hard to think about, but when I turned 65, um, I told the boys that we'd be on I personally would be on a 5-year plan, that at 5-year increments, we would all sit down, my wife and my sons, my general manager, myself, and we would analyze my performance. And I'd try to turn that spotlight on me and what I contributed to the business. And am I still relevant? Am I still contributing? And if everything, everybody gives me the green light, I'm going to go again. Well, August, I turned 75, and we had another little meeting, and I guess I'm going to re-up for another 5 and decide what happens. But as long as I um, get up every morning and want to come to work, and I don't ever get up in the morning, put my feet on the ground, that I don't want to be here. And so it's something that I'm invested in. I tell my sons all the time, you're not working for me, I'm working for you. And I'm here because of them, and I want to help them. And as long as I can contribute and be relevant, I'm going to be here.
Well,
Um,
that's fantastic. I know from coaching boys baseball with your son Brandon, that when you talk about business comes first, I've seen that firsthand when he's taking phone calls for business in the dugout.
oh,
And
yeah.
so, there comes a time when someone needs something, and he's having that conversation. And a lot of times, he's talking with your internal employees, and he'll say, I've got to get back to coaching some baseball at some point, but business does come first. It has to, for a company to survive 85 years being going strong, and headed towards the third and the fourth generation.
And,
There
and
has to be that sense of urgency.
sometimes that's difficult. Um, it's difficult for children to understand sometimes. It's also difficult for spouses to understand at times. And fortunately for us, our children have chosen spouses that understand small business, understand our history, understand the legacy that we've all been blessed with, and that legacy has been the single most important motivating factor for myself particularly when I was 26 years old and my father walked out the door for the last time. Um, I didn't want to be the one that had my hands on the wheel of the bus and run it into the ditch. I wanted to make sure we stayed on the straight and narrow and stayed on the ground and moved forward and was able to expand the business and embrace all aspects of the business, which we have.
Well, I just love the story that you're telling me here today. I'll ask you two more questions before we let you go because we're running
Sure.
about 40 minutes in. Are there any current or past employees that you want to have a special shout out to? And the what's made your company, of course, is your family and your sons, but there's been, I'm sure, some key employees currently and past. Is there anybody that comes to mind that you'd like to have a special shout out to?
Well, the first that comes to mind is David Rich. He's our general manager. Um, he's been involved in the vending business for 30 plus years. Um, we have been a canteen franchise for 15 years. It's our 15th year of being a franchise, which has brought many, many um, benefits to our company. And David used to work for Canteen Corporate, had left them for a couple of years, and then uh, decided he wanted to be back in the vending business, and we partnered up at that time. He's been here for a long time and has been an integral part of the business and has been a huge mentor to both my sons. And having my wife Michelle here has been she's been um, a great partner and has and she's here every day and works. She's got the most difficult job in a company. She's pays all the bills and decides where the money's going, and she's an integral part as well. Um, we had a former general manager, um, Ed Pullier, that was with me for 40 plus years. And he retired about three or maybe four times. And he'd get retired and then he'd call and say, "Hey, I'm bored to death." He said, "Can I come back to work?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so he'd come back and whatever task you gave him was always with a smile, always with a go get it attitude. And he finally retired when he was 80 plus years old, retired for good, I think, but we're only a couple of months into it. So he may he may back up on that decision.
Oh,
Uh,
that's funny.
Bob Bricker, another long term 40 plus year employee. He's just 3 years younger than I am. He's here every day at about 4:30 in the morning, and he's just been a valuable asset. And all those guys, David and Bob and Ed, all were like family members, and we've treated them like family. Um, and and that all has come back um, tenfold to the company and to me personally. They're just irreplaceable, valuable friends and employees, and they take care of the business, and they make me sleep better at night. All those.
Yeah. Well, that's super nice of you to acknowledge. One area where I've seen companies fail is just to not acknowledge, the work that folks do behind the scenes. The people that you got to treat your folks right. You can pay them all the compensation in the world, but you have to treat folks right and acknowledge the work that they did. And without it, none of this is possible. And so,
Everybody likes a pat on the back.
yeah,
They like that acknowledgement. And I mean, it's as simple as I try to go out of my way when I'm in the warehouse and we have route drivers coming back in or somebody coming back in from a delivery. I always try to ask them, "How you doing today? How was your day?" Anything I can help you with? Just those simple acknowledgments of, we appreciate you being here and you're part of the team. And thank you for what you do. Because they're as big as part um, of our success story as myself or any family member, because they're out there every day doing the work and getting the job done and running those service calls at night. That's a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, one last question for you, Tom. When I interviewed Roger Eidecker, we talked about kind of what's the latest and greatest in the world, and that was underground mining. What is it as you're looking at the current trends and where your business is going? What's on your mind, or is there anything out there you're contemplating doing that you're not doing now?
Ooh, that's tough. Um, in the um, technology department, that's the biggest thing I think for us. And a lot of times you view that technology and are reactive to it. Um, and I think um, on the vending side of the operation, I believe that AI is going to be a bigger part of our business going forward. And by AI, I mean in our micro markets, not necessarily having the ability to track what you purchase and your trend, and then being able to interact with that person in their workplace, and being able to let them know that um, you know that in the micro market we have this new product or that new product, or there's a special or this or that. I think AI is going to be a big factor in that business. And I think from the amusement game business, um, I think just the incidence of having different paying differently, not necessarily with a dollar bill or a coin, but being able to pay with a credit card, debit card, proximity pay. Um, there's a new system now where you can go into a place of business with a card, and you go to a kiosk and you put credit on that card. And so there's no transaction at the machine. You walk up to the machine with a proximity card and put a credit on. And I think that technology has been out for a while, but I think it's going to proliferate more in the amusement game business in the street locations that we do business with. So those are the trends that I see. That the micro market um, on the vending side of the operation, when it came out, um, very expensive to install. You needed in the initial stages of that, the presentations that we observed, um, the companies would say that you would need 500 people employed for these things to work. Well, we were coming back from one of the presentations, my general manager and I were, and he said, "Well, how many of these do you suppose we can have?" And I said, "Well, gosh, at that time, you can count the people that companies that employ 500 people on one hand in St. Joe." So I told him, I said, "I don't know, maybe six." Well, as we go down the road, the technology got better. The technology got better such that you could service a smaller amount. And so now, in today's world with Acme, in our trade area, we have, uh, by the first quarter of next year, we're going to have over 70 micro markets in our trade area. And so that technology has been real enhancement to the vending business. And so I think that also is going to develop and mature and move forward with that. So I think the and I think with the vending machines, um, there's going to be more AI involved with those as well. So I think that's going to be an interesting trend to watch, and hopefully I'll be around to witness that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tom, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to interview you here today. You know, there's business management courses in college, and I don't think anybody learns anything in business school outside of, I got an accounting degree, and that certainly came in handy, but you learn business through actually doing business. And I think it's really an honor to get to interview you because, you know, a lot of small businesses are being done all over the place all the time, and there's really not a platform for people like you to kind of share the knowledge that you've gained over time. And it's been a real honor and a pleasure chatting with you. I love your story, and so thanks for letting me just pick your mind. I know for those that are listening, I'm sure they really enjoyed this conversation like I have, and there's been some real wisdom you've imparted on us here, and I appreciate that. And if you have any colleagues or friends of yours that have a story to tell, they've been in business a long time, I'd love to expand on. St. Joe's a great business town. People beat up on St. Joe a lot, but there are a lot. It's a great business town. There's a lot of good family businesses here, and
There
if you have
certainly
anybody,
are. You know, it's. I agree with you that the St. Joe does get denigrated too much, I believe, and I think we're in a it's a tough market. Um, I used to have a very successful uh, business man that is no longer here today, but he had a family business that started in St. Joseph, and he expanded. Um, Bill Grace that had Grace Construction, obviously had the casino here, and expanded his business out west. And he used to tell me, he said, "Son," he said, "if you can make it in St. Joe," he said, "you can make it anywhere." He said, "It's a tough market, but," he said, "it's a good formative place to start your business, because it gives you all the right tools to succeed elsewhere." And it's been a great market for us. It's a wonderful place to raise children, and so many opportunities here. I just wish that we could get obviously more industry, helps the infrastructure, helps everything concerned. Um, and I think it's important for people to have a central vision for Saint Joseph, not North End, South End, East End, but have a central vision for Saint Joseph that we're going to move Saint Joseph forward. And when you move it forward, everybody benefits. And I think that's one of the benefits of living in the Midwest, and particularly living in St. Joseph.
yeah, well, that's a good message for St. Joe for sure. I'm a South Ender, and we're a little bit tribal here in St. Joe, no doubt about that.
Yep.
But you know what I like about St. Joe is we're a blue collar town. We make things. We still make things, and people who make those things can earn a wage in St. Joe and still live because it's not terribly expensive. And
Right.
so I'm bullish on St. Joe's manufacturing and just business in general. If you look around, there's not too many vacant business buildings around. I think as more manufacturing comes back from China and other places, I think St. Joe's going to do better than people realize. Well, Tom, it's been a real pleasure. I've been taking notes, and so I'm going to rewatch this because there's a lot of tidbits you told me, and maybe as you continue working at Acme and you continue on that transition plan on your family, I'll check up on you if you wouldn't mind. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and maybe we can do it again.
Bo, I appreciate your time, and it's been a pleasure talking with you, and good luck with all your interviews in the future.
Yeah, I don't know how long before I publish all of this, but soon enough, and I'm looking forward to it. I know I've learned quite a bit, both in just my 2 interviews with you and Roger. And so, Tom, take care, and we'll see you, I'm sure, at Little League Baseball here fairly soon. Won't be too long before we're back at it.
Absolutely. It'll be here before you know it.
All right, Tom, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Bo.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.